Hey guys, today I am getting a bunch of stuff out of my freezers so I can can it up and I can try to organize the freezers so that I can get all my stuff down to one freezer. So I'm going to be canning some of this meat. So I'm evaluating what I have in my freezers right now. So if you have not been here before, I am Mama to many. I am a mom to 14 children. 12 of my children still live at home, and we are homesteaders. I think that some people would probably call us preppers. I don't know that I would consider us preppers, but we are prepared, if that makes sense. We just kind of live the way our ancestors did, and we like to keep a good, well-stocked pantry. And so, yeah, as we move in from we're doing the pantry challenge this week, and actually this month, and as we're moving from one season into another, I want to try to eat everything down. I have things that I want to use up, and so I'm just trying to figure out what I want to use up, what I don't want to use up, and what I want to can, and try to get my stuff down to just one freezer by March 1st. So let's see what we got. I want to do that for a couple of reasons. One, I'm going to be putting some pigs in the freezer. And two, I like to just have one freezer going for the summer. So even though I'm going to go down to one freezer, I'm hoping to get it to be like half a freezer so that I can put pork into there, and then I'll can a bunch of that up. All right, let's see. So this mainly in here is meals that I've already made. So because we're doing the pantry challenge, I am looking at these meals right now and deciding what I have in here. I have meatballs, I have chili, I have hamburgers down there, more meatballs, I have some, what's that? Chicken, Italian chicken, other chicken. So I think most of this in here is meals from here over. So then I have 3 ducks in here. I might can that. This is a meal as well. There's soup. Let's see. This is some those. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to try to talk you through things because I do things differently than a lot of people. So I mentally am making a plan. Sometimes I just let it go in my head and I'm not like saying it out loud. So I looked in this freezer over here. So mentally I'm thinking I have one day a week that I'm doing freezer meals for both lunch and supper. That is my consideration. I am going to keep that for lunch and supper as having those freezer meals. I also see in here, in a separate day, I'm going to write down, I think, meatballs. I also see in here some cauliflower. I don't want that cauliflower in here because this is all my meals that I'm trying to use down, and I don't want people to get confused. I see some butternut squash soup in this plastic container here. So I think that I might take that out and put it in the fridge. And then I might take some of these, a bag of drumsticks. And my husband's going to be working really long shifts, so he's working, we've had such storms and just craziness. And so he's had overtime, so he's working like 12s. And so I would pack like 2 meals for him. So I'm thinking he could have like soup for a meal because we have a thermos, and then pack him another separate meal. So I'm going to take some drumsticks out and then I'll cook those up for him. So now I'm going to, I think I'll look at my small freezer first. I know, it's kind of dark in here. Let me see if I can get better lighting. Okay, so I am bringing these in. Now, what I need to do is I am going to take a bunch of this pork out because we already used up all, yes, I said all, of that, of the sausages that I had canned before. So I need to grab a bunch of this pork and do that. So let's do that. Okay, so I have a laundry basket over here. I'm just going to throw it into. I feel roughly 2 pounds of meat will go per canner. 2, 4. Got it. I gotta grab a hammer and bang this. I bought myself a pink hammer. I did that because people like to take my hammer and then I can't tell if it's mine or somebody else's. Okay, so this is a meal and I'm putting it over in the meal freezer. So all I'm doing is I'll just hit them a little bit just to get them loose so that I can put them in here. So is it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we made it down to there, and then we have that there. And we have 28 of them here, which should yield about 14 jars. Now let's go look in the other freezer. So over here, I'm trying to decide. I think maybe this weekend I'll do like a big turkey and then a small turkey. And then I could can the remaining of that. Let's see what's over here. I don't know how much hamburger I have in here. I actually, that's all the hamburger I have left. I had somebody this morning say something like, in the comments about that I should maybe, because I had so much meat and so much steaks and that type of stuff, that maybe I should sell some meat. And we just eat a lot. I mean, you have to think, the average American eats like, I think it's like 280 pounds of meat a year. So times that, times 14, that's where we're at. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, I do have some hamburgers in here. I don't know, I was going to can some hamburger from over there, but I don't know that I'm going to actually can any of that. I'm going to evaluate if I should take some turkeys out, but I am going to do this sausage over here, and we're going to can that all into patties. So I decided I'm going to take 2 turkeys and put them in the fridge, and then we'll take those out. And then we'll cook those for Sunday. I'm taking some peppers out and bring them in the house fridge so I'll use them, and I am taking some of these, they're like onions and oil together, and putting those in. This is how much hamburger I have left. That is not a lot at all, guys. Not a lot at all. So you guys are coming up here with me. This is what I have here, so I'm going to go through some of this stuff. I'm thinking I'm going to take some, let's see, zucchini, definitely. I can take one of these. Is that kale? I think I have a kale in the house. I'm going to take a celery, which is here. So I'm going to take the celery down, and then, let's see, where did I put that? Okay, zucchini down. I also have this stuff up here. I have seeds over there, and then I have some canned pumpkin, but I have a ton of pumpkin actually in the basement as well, either pumpkin or butternut squash, which I use like interchangeably. What's this? Let's see. How are you? Oh, chicken noodle soup. That can probably stay there. Let's see. What do we see, people? What do we need? The names on the top are not exactly what it is, because that's always helpful. I still have some fresh. I'm going through the fresh and the frozen. My hair just got stuck. Want to see? Yes. Okay, my hair just got stuck to the roof. Yeah. So we still have some frozen peppers and some fresh onions. Trying to look on here. I have my soy sauce back there that we use, Worcestershire sauce, ketchup. Still got some of this stuff going on. honey, honey. This is home done honey, store-bought honey. And then some stuff down there. What's in that jar down there? Let's see. We got salt. What are these? Let me pull these out. Oh, those are apples. I need to look for a recipe with dried apples. Okay, and then I have these things here that can be used up as well. Yeah, so let's see what we're going to be doing. I also want to... Okay, this is really so hard. So we're trying not to eat beans and that type of stuff for my daughter is a type 1 diabetic. So I'm thinking like, I have all these beans. Look at all those beans. It's so hard for me as a mom. Like, I want to be able to make things at the same time. Like, if I do beans, then she might want beans. Just like if I do pasta, she might want pasta. And then I have to play with like her spiking for like days. Like literally that keto bread issue took 3 days to get her like back down to normal levels. There probably was something else going on at the same time. I don't know, like emotionally or whatever, it can change everything. But I don't want to play around with the whole bean thing. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is look at the beans, see how many carbs for each bean, because I don't know like lentils and split peas. I don't know what that is for beans. And then I might just add some of those to like long-term food storage and not use them in my main rotation of yeah, what am I doing? Food storage. There we go. Not in my main rotation. I also need to go through these bins here. So I have nuts in one. Let me see what's in here. This is, oh, this is fruits, dry fruit. And this is like coconut flakes, that type of stuff. So what I need to do is I need to get some of this stuff up into here and then dated. I need this stuff in here to get dated because it hasn't been dated. So if I get anything new, then I'll know when it is. You can see I want to use up this cocoa, which has been going fast because we've been making homemade hot cocoa. I've also been using it for sweet pea for smoothies. And then some of the things in amongst here can get rotated through. Let me see what else is in here. So like the quinoa, I don't know what that is. That might end up going in food storage. I guess part of this challenge is making me realize that I want to keep foods in my basic areas, which would be here as well. As far as foods that I rotate on a daily basis, and that's how it was normally, but foods have changed since we are no longer doing lots of things like for sweet pea. So I'm just trying to figure all that out. So, alright, I'm gonna grab the stuff that I have here and I'm gonna bring that into the house. We are going into my dungeon. Okay, let's see. I've got my husband's big old boots on. And yes. So, I was trying to make it so, you know, the septic could have already been pumped out and it would look great, but we have had just crazy weather, so it is like this. And I thought that I would come down here and I would be completely honest with you guys and show you guys honestly why we built things the way that we did, and maybe it might help encourage some of you people who don't have things just so. Sometimes I get a little annoyed and irritated because it seems like lots of people that are out there on either Facebook or Instagram, they seem to have like everything just perfect and just so, but that's not the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans just are living paycheck to paycheck, and the majority of Americans just have normal houses, which might be old, which might have, you know, not so pretty parts about them. I love my basement, and I love my basement, one, because I have a basement and it's a great place to keep things, and 2, because now we set it up to work for our family. And I just encourage you, if you don't have a space, a lot of times I hear people on different homesteading sites and stuff that they don't have a space because their basement gets wet, that they don't have a space because their house is small. I'm here to tell you, we have a small house, we have 14 kids, we have a wet basement, but you can make this work for your family. So what we did, this cost, when we did it, it cost a couple $100, but showing you now. I probably have a good, I don't know, look at my boots. These are big boots and they have like a heel on them. They're my husband's. My foot's like half the size of his, so my foot's like half of this. I have fairly tiny feet. My foot's like a 7 or a 7.5. So yeah, anyhow. This is my basement, and these are my canned goods. So I come down here and occasionally just look. Like, for instance, I see this is bad. And I'm going to make a pile over on the steps for bad stuff. I won't do all the bad stuff with you guys, but what I am going to do is I'm going to evaluate. Oh, by the way, the bad stuff can go to the pigs. I'm going to evaluate what I have a lot of, what I need to use up, what I know is old. This down here, right in front of me, this is all either pumpkin or butternut squash. So I have a bunch of it. I think I actually have more on the back thing too. I'm not quite sure. But I see lots of butternut things coming out of this because I have it. Let's see. Here's the potatoes that I was talking about. So I want to use up some of these potatoes. I'd like to use up maybe to here over. I'd like to use up and then keep this that way, still stored. I know some people are completely wanting to like get rid of like the food that they have for next year. We eat this like all the time. So I am not looking to get rid of all my food. I am looking to use up things that I know are older. So I am looking for things that I personally know that are older that need to be used. So I have this, which I stopped canning because I don't necessarily like the texture of this. This is yellow squash that I canned like this. So whenever I'll probably bring up 4 of these. I'm gonna get somebody to grab me a crate and I'll bring up things that I'm gonna use this week. So I'm gonna grab 4 of these and we will use these inside of a soup this week. What's this one here? This is purple cabbage. I'll probably grab all of the purple cabbage because it kind of turns out gray when you cook with it, and I'd prefer to use regular cabbage. This here, this says turnip greens, but it's really not, it's cabbage. This is regular cabbage. I need to make a mental note to myself, hey, you have a bunch of cabbage downstairs. So I'm going to, while I'm down here, I will take anything that doesn't look good. That does not look good. And those are all go to the pigs. That does not look good. So for people who say you're afraid to get botulism or something, it's really hard to tell. Like, if you see this, you're not going to want to eat it. So don't eat it. Anyhow, so we also have quite a bit of beans. We have beans up here, here, here. All of those are beans, so we can use quite a bit of beans. I also have quite a bit of salsa here that needs to get used up. I have some carrots, but not too much, so I probably will not focus on that. I do have this as well. This is turnips, and turnips can be used just like potatoes, although fried turnips for breakfast do not taste the same as fried turnips for something else. Anyway, turnips in a soup taste like potatoes. Turnips as fried potatoes do not taste like potatoes. I mean, yeah. Does that make sense? Okay. Anyway. So, this is all my pickled goods here. Sweet Pea has just been having those pickles there. Let me step over. Ugh. Okay. So, even though you guys see a lot of food down here, you have to understand we are 14 people. Just like the whole thing with the beef when somebody had said, hey, like, would you sell half a cow or something like that? Like, I totally get that, but we could eat 3 cows in a year. Same with vegetables. We don't just have like 1 quart of vegetables. We have 2 or 3 quarts of vegetables. If I make soup, a good dozen to 20 quarts are being used for 1 meal for soup. So put that in perspective when you see the amounts of what I have and the amounts that I need to can. So if I have this upstairs, my husband will use it. This is like habanero jelly here and over there. And this is cowboy candy. He will eat those, and some other people will eat those if I have them upstairs. This is, it's hard to see because of the light. Those are pickled. And then here's some relish. We could bring some relish up because we do have those hamburgers in the freezer, remember? And then pickled beets. I need to just make sure that our cabinet is full of pickled beets because everyone in our house likes them and they're so good for you. This is greens. These are, I think, kale. That's kale. I don't see it labeled. I'm pretty sure it's kale. So those could be used in a soup. These need to be used for sure. I need to just bring these upstairs. These are pickled scapes, and some of the kids really like those. I just need to bring them upstairs because I always forget they're downstairs and I don't have a spot in my actual cabinet for them. So I'm going to grab some of those. And these are our favorite. Those are the bread and butter pickles, but it really depends. A lot of times what I'm doing is I'm doing like bread and butter pickles, and then Sweet Pea will have those pickles. Okay, let's see. Let's look over here. Somebody did not put that away correctly, so I need to put that away. That is soup in there, which does not belong there. Okay, so I have a bunch of applesauce that needs to get gone through. So I'll bring some of that upstairs. Here is some apple pie filling. I need to go through that. I'm not going to be canning apple pie anymore because I want it separated so that I can have it like that Sweet Pea can have things. I'd rather just can the actual fruit itself and then make it later. Okay, so yeah, what are these? Peaches. This over is peaches. I don't have a huge selection of that. I'm not going to focus on that, but I do have a lot of pears, so I'm okay to focus on some of the pears things. I see that it looks like someone decided to disorganize a bunch of my berries because I see blueberries next to blackberries, next to raspberries. Yeah, so somebody had fun with that. These are plums down the end. I'd like to use up the plums, so I'm gonna grab those and bring those upstairs, definitely. And I definitely could make some crisps out of some of the berries, because the berries are just canned with water. So I have ketchup here that I can bring up so that I'm using that ketchup and Sweet Pea's ketchup until we use that up. And then barbecue sauce here, which I can put on separately, maybe with like pulled pork, because Sweet Pea doesn't really like pulled pork. Which reminds me, I do have a pork roast, so we can do that. Alright. Coming over in the flood. Alright, so broths we have here, liver here. I wouldn't be opposed to dehydrating some of that, but we can wait on that. That's not a necessity right now. Yeah, so we have a bit of canned meat. I'm trying to think where, there's the sausage patties. So there is some sausage patties. She thought they were all gone, but I do see a couple here. I see 1, 2, 3, and then this row is all sausage patties there. So we'll bring those up so when we can the other ones, it will be good. Alrighty, backside. This whole top, let's see if I can point. This and all of this is canned fish. So 2 things. I think I'm gonna start supplementing. The ones in the boxes are not deboned. These ones are deboned. So I think what I'm gonna do is start using some of this fish to supplement for the pigs. Oh, I didn't think we could have gone through all those sausage. Is this sausage? These are sausages as well. Okay, so we're still canning that other sausage, but I do have some over here. That is good to know. So then, let me see. Suck it in, suck it in. Okay. Pork broth. And let's see what's over there. That's more apple pie filling, and then this is apple cider. My daughter has a good recipe for apple cider donuts, so I might convince her to make a batch of those. So that's about it, guys. I know that my basement is not pretty, but to me it is pretty. It's pretty because God's blessed us so much with the food that's in here, and it just feels so rewarding to see the abundance that He's given us. So this is our tank, and what just happened is it has a sensor on it, so if the water goes up too high and touches the bottom, then the sensor goes off. So when I went through, I created a wave, and so it didn't like me, so I had to like reset the sensor on it. What I'm gonna do is I am going to have my son, we have a hose that comes out the window. I'll show you this. So this is the pump here, and then that hose goes out the window over there, which goes through our garage. You've probably seen it laying on the garage before. And that is that. I just want to encourage, like, especially people who look on Instagram or Pinterest and they see beautiful things. Like, you see it's just so beautiful, and people have perfect plates and perfect shelves lined up in, you know, a gorgeous room and those types of things. All of those are very beautiful, and I'm not saying that it's not, and I'm not saying that that's not great that the Lord's blessed that family in that way. But I do want to encourage real people like me, like you, to just put away food. There's a security in knowing that you have food put aside for your family. If your husband loses his job, if you lose your job, to know that you can still feed your family, and that's one less thing that you have to worry about during a time of crisis. When my son died, I knew I really didn't have to worry about food. I knew if I needed to, like, I couldn't even fathom going to a grocery store during that time of trying to figure out all the ins and outs of, like, burying someone you love. Like, I couldn't fathom that. I had enough business stuff that I had to be doing. A food storage can be a blessing in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be a crazy, like, economic crisis, although who the heck knows what's happening with our world, because, you know, especially in the United States, we're not following the Lord, and, you know, anyway, that's a whole nother other chat. If you want to see other people that talk about that all the time, there's plenty of them out there, and I listen to some of them, you know, but that's not like my focus and my channel. But I do encourage you to get some sort of food storage, because if something happens, big or small, there is a security in knowing that you can provide for your family. I'm gonna tell you just a little story. I'm just gonna give you like a little tidbit of my life. I was a teen mom, and I had a son who was not quite one, No, he was probably, let's see, maybe 7 months. And I lived with a bunch of people, 20 plus people. My mother was like nowhere around or whatever, and I lived with a bunch of people, and I was 18. And people were hungry. People were hungry because of lots of, I don't want to say lots of system failures, but it was very difficult. And it was difficult to get a job in the position that I was in. I ended up, yes, I was able to get a job eventually. But I remember there's 2 things that happened during that time period. One was, while I was with those people, I got WIC, so I had baby food for my son, and the people that were there were so hungry they stole his baby food and ate it. Thankfully and fortunately, it's funny because I wasn't a Christian then, but the Lord worked it out that I actually had money that day. And so it was really hard for me to find a reliable childcare source. I was a single mom, and to find a reliable childcare source that wasn't like a drug addict or something like that, right? And even then it was difficult to find. So anyhow, I did end up working through that and whatever. That was one time. Around that same time, a little bit after that time, I moved in with my second son's father, and things got really bad. He had been clean for so many years, and he got back into drugs, and my life just went completely downhill. And he stole all the money. I was working as a manager at a store, and I had daycare at that time. Actually, he was watching them part of the time, and then the neighbor was watching them part of the time. And I was pregnant, and he took all the money, and I was in the house, and I had nothing, and I had no one, and I was all alone, and I walked. I was about 7 months pregnant. I had gotten shingles while I was pregnant with my son, and during that time I got laid off from that job because I was unable to go to work because of that. So I took my son in an umbrella stroller, and I was very pregnant, and I didn't even have enough money to get a, there was public busing there. I was in a city, and I couldn't get the public bus to where I needed to go to get to a food pantry or a food bank or like anything like that. So I decided that I would walk. I heard about this place that it was like a soup kitchen and that you could get a meal. So I was in the city, like I said, so there was lots of people there, and I was standing in this line, and by the time I got there, I had left an hour and a half before. I think it was about 8 miles from my house, and I walked there. I hadn't eaten for days. My son did eat because I wouldn't eat so that I could feed him. And I get there, and there was a huge line, and I'm standing at the back of the line, and you know, I'm like, I wasn't even thinking that the line would close, and literally right in front of my face the door closed. They had used up the amount of tickets that they had for the day, and that was it. That was the end of it. And I just stood there. I didn't know where to go. Everyone pretty much turned around. A lot of people were like drug addicts or prostitutes or that type of stuff. And I sat there, and I was sitting like right there, and this lady came out. She was like done with her shift, and she was like, come with me. And she like asked me like kind of like my story, and I just gave her like a little tidbit and whatever, and she gave me like 5 bags of food and fed both of us. And even though I had that food, I refused to eat at first. Like, she had given my son food and then she gave me food. And so what I did was I wrapped up. I had like a cloth, and I wrapped up the food for my son. And I wasn't going to eat, even though I was pregnant. And it was just a really, really hard time. I honestly pray that nobody ever gets to that point. It's hard. And I want you guys to understand that I do know. I know how it can be. I know how hard it can be. That's why, like, I'm trying to make videos, so hopefully you guys can understand, like, I'm not perfect. Things that I have are not perfect. Like, I know where you're coming from. I know your heart. I know how it feels to be hungry, like, to really be hungry. Like, once you get hungry, then you don't get hungry anymore, right? So once you haven't eaten in a couple days, like, you don't really get hungry. It's just, it's just a weird thing. You get side effects, but you don't really get hungry. And so I guess I wanted to give that little bit of me so you guys can understand. But I also wanted to show you guys my downstairs and just how blessed I feel, even though it's not perfect. So use the imperfection that the Lord gives you in your life to make it something beautiful. And I hope you all have a blessed day.